to Emily Kate Made This. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my knitting, sewing, general crafty YouTube channel. Here is a place where I like to talk about all my knits and crafts and what I'm doing, getting out some confusion, some rage, some joy, you know, all the emotions that come with sewing and knitting. Today I am drinking from my new floor market find. I just went on the bank holiday to a floor market and it was huge and I found some wonderful things, including this. I love this pattern so much. It's Jäger and it's from the DDR or GDR, depending which language you speak. But we are not a pottery channel, we are a knitting and sewing channel, so I don't have any finished objects because I ran out of yarn to finish the project that was supposed to be this week's finished item. Ho-hum, but it is still an adorable half finished object, like half and a third finished object. I will show you. Oh, and I've dropped the yarn. If you follow me on Instagram, which I am also Emily Kate Made This, I'm also Emily Kate Made This on Ravelry and Coffee, which I constantly forget to mention. I'm dropping this yarn. Let's just leave it. I cast on this adorable pair of mittens and I'm so proud. So cute. It's not blocked yet, but oh, my watch makes it look a bit strange, but let's just cover the watch. The bulky part is my watch. I have very, very thin wrists, so I could probably have done this tighter on my wrist, but hey ho. Like, it's bulky because I have a huge watch under there, otherwise there's a lot of space. This is all knit in Jamieson Spindrift. I'll link the colours either below, but basically if you go to my Ravelry and see my rainbow jumper, I originally purchased that yarn to make these and then I didn't. I procrastinated and did a whole bunch of other things. I've made a jumper with it, then a beret with this wool, and I finally used the leftovers to make the actual mittens, and what do you know, I ran out of yarn. And I'm so gutted because I don't have, like, I don't need that much more of the green, but I do need more. Like, there's no green here, it's just here and a little bit more here that I need. And I can't, I'm having a bit of a dilemma, as you know. I'm on a mission for stash busting and it's not going very well, but it definitely doesn't get any better or go any better if you have to buy new wool. And I thought it's fine, I could buy a 25-gram ball of wool because it would finish the project. But I could only find this wool in Germany from a small company, like a small business. That is not a problem. But the postage is the problem. And again, paying for postage is not actually a problem. It's just, I don't want to pay €6 postage for one ball of 25-gram wool that costs me €4.50. So then I have, or do I buy more wool? And I don't want to buy more wool, and I don't need more wool, but I also don't want to pay €6 postage for one ball of wool. So I'm a little bit stuck. That's my phone. So I'm trying to come up with a plan of what other yarn do I need in order to finish off any other projects or start a project or anything for Christmas. And I'm really not sure because, to be honest, I have works in progress that I would like for Christmas. Like the mittens, these are, I've already mentioned her name, a Crafter's Tale podcast. Nina designed these and she made a lovely Christmas pair of socks. gloves, mittens, whatever they are, and I have those already cast on and I want to finish them. There's no green. I have no yarn that looks anything like this colour. I think it's more grass, I think was the colour. Oh, and I just want to finish them because they're so cute, and the weather has finally changed. It's finally cooler, so I can actually wear them. So I'm just, yeah, basically trying to figure out what pattern do I need different wool for that I like. And I've trained myself so well now to tell myself I don't need more wool that it's actually very difficult now to buy it. I think I have enough of the others, but I could buy another brown because I might run out of the brown that goes along the back here and his face. So that would make 2 25-gram balls of wool. So whilst I am on the subject of the brown, let's talk about that. This is mostly duplicate stitch. You do carry the brown along with and use it and intersperse. That's not what I want to say. You use 2 colours at a time at all times throughout this, and the parts like the black for the eyes, the pink for the nose, and the different shading on the face, they're all duplicate stitch, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's so worth it because it looks so cute. And I think it will look much better when I've blocked it. So that is my half-finished object slash current woe, because I have to figure out what to do. What yarn do I need? Maybe by the end of talking I will have convinced myself about which yarn I need. There's another company in, not Sweden, in the Netherlands that I really love, and they have lots of beautiful yarn, and I could definitely convince myself I need that, but I don't actually need it. And the postage is double, so. I've already talked so much that I need a tea break. My next work in progress is my Valkyria cardigan. Yay, I cast it on. This is by Anna, and what do you know, I've already forgotten how to pronounce her name. Anna Sjösvärd. Watch my last YouTube and you'll know what I'm talking about. The last video I posted is not actually a regular episode, but it is my Gotland and Öland video, so if you want to go watch that and you didn't see it, then it is there. Thank you to everybody, by the way, who have watched it and have said such lovely comments. I genuinely thought about 30 people would watch it. I didn't think that many people would have any interest in watching me talk and talk and talk and talk about my holiday. But I was pleasantly surprised that you are all enjoying it as much as I did. So thank you again for watching. Now let's talk Valkyria. I received this beautiful pattern from a viewer and fellow podcaster. Thank you. You know who you are. And she said, just cast on already. So I did. I listened to you. And I cast it on, I'm not really sure how long ago, maybe a week ago. I am absolutely terrified that I'm going to run out of yarn. And I'm on the second ball of yarn, and I've just separated for the body and sleeves. And I've got 2 big poofy sleeves to finish. So yeah, I'm very nervous. I don't quite know how to show you because it looks a bit weird because it's a cardigan and it's obviously not completed. It also looks tiny. So this is the beautiful Gotland Spinneri wool that I purchased when I was in Gotland. It's such a beautiful wool. I don't know how to explain it, which isn't very useful because you can't touch it or feel it, or like, I have to use words, and it's just really enjoyable to knit with. I it's so soft and bouncy. Like, it feels really nice in your hands. It's like lustrous. I can read the word, I just can't say it apparently. Lustrous. And it has a nice hand feel. Can we just say that? It glides through your fingers, but not in like a shiny superwash way. But it doesn't get stuck like I find some more of the rustic wools that I use. Like, I love using Plötulopi, but it can get a bit sticky when you're knitting with it, when you've got more than 2 colours, or sometimes it can stick to itself. This one just glides through and it's so nice. And what I find fascinating is it's basically very dark charcoal grey, but if you try and take a picture, it just constantly looks silver or white. There's so much shine to it. But not shine, like it's not shiny. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if my camera picked any of that up. It doesn't really like me getting too close. It is beautiful. So I'm doing size 2. And did I swatch? Absolutely not. But there was no point, because I couldn't go bigger. I couldn't do a bigger size because I wouldn't have enough yarn. I bought 3 balls, or 3 skeins that are now balls. Let me show you. 3 of these, and the other one is sitting in my yarn bowl that I finally took all the rubbish out of and actually used it for its purpose. And I wouldn't have wanted to go up bigger needle sizes anyway, because it would look too gappy. But I am on, if you measure it, at this point I'm at the correct row gauge. I just haven't checked the gauge, but it looks like I want it to look, and at the moment, yeah, my row gauge seems to be on point, because it says at this point you should have blah amount of centimetres, and I do have blah amount of centimetres. So I think it's the right size. And this is how much of the body I have. This is the sleeve. And I have 2 sleeves and the rest of the body to go, and a button band, and I have 1 1 3/4 balls left. I am absolutely terrified of running out. So much so I cast on something else to calm myself down. This is knitted flat, so I have done my usual technique where I use the recommended needle, which is 4mm, on my right hand to do the knit side, and then when I switch to doing the purl row, I actually have a smaller needle on my interchangeable set, which 3.75 I think I'm using. I don't think I went to 3.5. 375, and these are my Licker driftwood needles, because that helps me with not rowing out and getting really weird lines where you can see that the gauge is completely different on my purl side. So thank goodness for interchangeable needles, because that has really saved my knitting tension. Anything else? No, don't think I have anything else to say yet. I will update you more the further I get into the process. But it feels so nice, and I'm so happy when I'm knitting with it, because it feels really good. And I am really excited to wear this now that the temperature has dropped and it's actually grey and looking autumnal. This will be perfect. So yes, very excited. Can you tell? Very excited. I finally cast this on. I just really hope I have enough yarn. That seems to be the theme of today. I haven't done anything else on the Venezia shawl. For some reason I'm just not in the mood, which is annoying because I really don't like having a project that I've just started getting into and then cast it aside, but I just don't feel like working on it. It's too like dainty and pretty, and it needs so much attention, and I just don't have that in me at the moment. I want rusticy wools and colour work and a new different type of challenge. which is what I have next. This is a very stark difference in material and colour palette, but brace yourselves, it might shock you. The colours are quite intense, and not very me generally, but ta-da! Gosh, it's even more intense on the screen. So I am on a mission. I have a few knitting bucket list things I want to achieve, and I keep procrastinating and just not doing them. And I saw on Instagram there's a lovely woman who has a beautiful knitting account because it's all vintage and vintage knitting, and she has a vintage book and I really want to get it, maybe Christmas. And she just released, I should say her name, goodness, Linda, that's it. Yes, Linda from Knitting for Victory. She just released a sampler pattern. Oh, I am getting way too hot. You can have what I was wearing. I wanted to talk about that, but now I'm too sweaty. Anyway, Knitting for Victory. Linda designed the Broadway sampler tie scarf, and it's vintage inspired, I suppose, pattern that was typical during the 1930s, 40s, and I've seen a couple around and I wanted to give it a try, but then this and that came up and I just never did. But then this one is specifically knitted flat, and it's colourwork flat. This is something I really want to be able to do. I want to learn it, I want to be good at it, and I want to use it. I have several vintage patterns that once you get to the top, like you could do the whole bottom part, usually, in the round, should you wish. But then once you separate the sleeves, you always have to go flat, and then the pattern gets completely broken. And I want to be able to get my tension and get the skill done. So I thought this would be a good pattern to go with, give it a whirl. But it required DK wool, and I don't actually own any DK wool. I have lots of fingering weight, lots of sport weight, lots of like Plötulopi, Plötulopi weight, whatever that is, but not DK. And the only DK I had was one that was gifted to me by a lovely friend in New Zealand. It's the Ashford, where's my label? Ashford Merino DK, 100% merino wool, 50 gram double knit, and this was gifted to me a while ago, and I had an idea for a project and I might still do that with the leftovers, but I figured this would be a good time to practice because I thought about gifting it, but I don't know how it's going to look to know if it's giftable. I've noticed a bit of yarn has come off. That's a good sign, isn't it? A bit of yarn has come out and I'm not sure where from. Let's worry about that later. So it's, as I said, knitted flat, and so I've done my same technique where I've got the 4mm needle on my right hand and the 3.75 on my left when I'm purling. And this one doesn't have any more than 2 colours in a row. It does recommend that you have 5 colours. The main one, the white one is the main one, and then 4 colours, but I only have 4 in total, so I'm not quite following the colour recommendation. There's meant to be like a yellowy colour, but I'm just gonna wing it. It's very intense. But one thing I've noticed is the white yarn is a lot fluffier and plumper than the bluey coloured yarn. It's kind of the same plumpness, and they're all the same. They're all the same brand, they're all the same weight, they're all the same everything. But the pink yarn is significantly thinner, and it's completely changed my gauge in one place. I'll try and remember to put the picture in that I took, or showing how different the thickness of the wool is. I really hope it blocks out because it looks super weird otherwise. All of this is relatively even, and then you get to this section and it starts with the pink at the sides and it just goes and pulls in, and it's the only section that doesn't have the white or the light blue, and I didn't change my tension or my needles or anything, but the yarn is much thinner, which is very strange considering it's supposed to be the same, and it looks really weird. Like, looks like it did a bunch of decreases. So I'm hoping when I block it I can just pin them all out and they'll stay even, and I'm pretty sure I'm picking up a border around it. So yeah, fingers crossed that will block out, because otherwise it's going to look really rubbish. And speaking of blocking pins, I must remember I want to get those blocking combs so I can stick in combs instead of individual pins that end up making things look a bit spiky, because I don't have enough. But overall, I'm really proud of my tension. I think it looks pretty good, aside from this bit. I'm a bit unsure about how to go about the ends, because obviously it's flat, and usually I knit in the round and I just weave in my ends as I go with the knitting, not necessarily with a needle afterwards. So this is very uncomfortable for me to just leave ends hanging down the side. Not loving that. And it also changes the tension at the side, which is also weird to me. So yeah, there's a big learning curve going on. Of course it's not blocked, obviously. And I'm halfway through the chart. So I have another half to go. Then it does the neck part, and then I've got this again on the other side. I actually really want to do a different pattern, but I thought this is my practice piece, as it is called, a sampler piece. So I do want to make this as per pattern, and then assuming or hoping all goes well and it looks nice, then I have a whole bunch of other designs I want to put onto this. One being a dinosaur. Naturally, vintage dinosaur. I'm also thinking Christmas patterns. I have many thoughts, and I'm just getting myself overexcited, and I haven't even finished one half of the first part of the scarf. So calm down. It's very weird using superwash yarn, because I am using super rusticy, completely different yarn, but it is nice, and I think it's actually really good to practice purling with two colours in one hand with yarn that doesn't like to stick to itself or to each other. So it's easier to pick up the correct yarn that you want for the first time, I think. I am definitely struggling with this. It's not easy. I am finding that if I purl with two colours in one hand, it's a lot more difficult, but that is how I want to do it. It's how I want to get better. I've tried picking up one, purling, dropping the yarn, picking up the next colour, purling, dropping it, picking up it. It's just so laborious and everything's getting entangled. It's easier if I purl with two hands and purl English style with my right hand and purl however my style is. I don't really know. It's kind of like the continental, but I'm not really sure. It's easier, but my tension for my English style purling is a lot tighter, and I stopped purling that way because it caused a lot of hand pain, and I don't want to get into that situation again. So I want to minimize that. I'm kind of using it more like if I have, say, 4 blue, 1 pink, 4 blue, 1 pink, then I'll do the 1 pink with my right hand. But if I've got like 3 blue, 3 pink, 3 blue. Then I'm trying to do it with my left hand. I have kind of figured out the technique, but it's just a bit more brain power. Doesn't help that I'm also looking at the chart and using different colours to what's on the chart. So I look at it and think, okay, yellow. No, I mean blue, but not that blue, this blue. So I'm kind of not helping myself by having different colours. And also, you read the chart the other direction, which I never do. If I am doing any colour work, it's always right to left. And now I have right to left on my knit side, and then the purl left to right. And it's so weird how much harder it is, because I'm looking at the fabric and it's changing colour right to left, but the chart is going left to right, and it's just something I'm not used to. I really should have put lip balm on. It's something I'm not used to, and it's taking a while. The purl sides take a lot longer, but it is the point of this project. So I am proud of how the tension's going and how it looks, and I'm really intrigued how it will look when it's blocked. So I have to get some more knitting going on this. I will briefly touch on the jumper I was wearing that was supposed to be what I'm wearing. I didn't have any intention of wearing some scrappy t-shirt on on here, but hey ho. I do get very flustered when I record. It doesn't really matter what temperature it is. It could be snowing and I would just be so sweaty, and so it's like social anxiety, despite the fact that there's literally no one here, not even my husband. No one is here. I'm talking to myself. I could just sit here and do deep breaths and calm down, but I just get so excited when I talk about my knitting. So the jumper I was wearing is my Melody Hoffman Wild Posy jumper, the Flora version. There are 2 versions. I will put a picture, and everything I talk about is in the description box below or linked to my Ravelry. So if I completely mess up what I'm saying, it's all somewhere else written down. This is knitted in Plötulopi, and I made it, oh gosh, who knows, 2021 I think. I was and I am proud of it. I do like it. I love Plötulopi. It feels so good. I wear Plötulopi, as you can see, next to skin, and it doesn't bother me unless I get like really hot, like really hot. Then it would bother me. But anything would bother me if I got really hot. And I love the colour, but I'm not sure if it's really my colour. But it's pretty. And I don't really remember what I did, but I am suddenly aware how I'm not sure I've been choosing the correct size on circular yoke pullovers, because I noticed on several of mine that when I sit down it just goes like, and I'm thinking it could just be because I have been knitting vintage patterns and making them very tight. But I'm just noticing there's a lot of extra fabric, and I'm potentially just making them a bit too big. So my next circular yoke, I think I'll make smaller. I do have one that sits really nicely, and that's my Christmas one. So maybe I would check what size I did there and see. That was the Skandia festive yoke pullover, and that fits really well, to my memory at least. But again, it's also thinner yarn, and thinner yarn is kind of less bulky and doesn't bunch up as much. So maybe that's it. But yes, this is lovely, and I'm having a very confused moment today where it's the first time it's cooler. It's about 17 or 16 degrees, and it's been 26-ish degrees for weeks, Obviously you get a couple of days where it's 23, and then a couple of days it gets a bit warmer, but generally I've just been wearing summer dresses and then it got cooler and I just don't know how to dress. I don't understand why people love the autumn so much. It's like the worst time to change, like to wear clothing. I have summer trousers on, Birkenstock house shoes on, and a Plötulopi jumper, and now I'm too hot, so I've got a tank on. But if I went outside, I'd need more clothes, but not so many that I get too hot. But when I'm cold, like I just have to be a little bit cold, and then I'm cold, my hands are blue, and I just don't have great circulation. So dressing myself in the changing of season is so stressful. I don't know why people love it so much, but I kind of understand more like when it's really autumn and you know that you wear a jumper and a scarf and a hat, it's okay. But this, like, is it 20 degrees or is it 15 or is it windy? But yeah, I don't like change of season and dressing myself. Tea time! On the subject of autumn and seasons and dressing oneself, I am in a predicament, and I think if my motivation keeps up, I will do this. I almost started, but then I realised I don't have the needles because they're in other projects that I'm working on. In fact, the Valkyria and the scarf both have the needles that I need. So when I have finished one of those, I will commence my fixing the solution to my problems. Last year, I wanted to make my mum the into the wild fox sweater, and I did, and it's beautiful, and she's wearing it, and she's a happy lady. But before I gave her that one, I made one that didn't go well. And if you've been here a while, you would have seen it. I honestly don't remember all the details and all the woes, but basically my gauge was horrendously off. Like, it's supposed to have something like 17 stitches and I got 24, and I made size 4 but it came out the size 1, and I honestly have no idea how anybody gets Plötulopi single strand to be the equivalent of worsted weight. It makes no sense to me. It's single, it's not even plied, it's just this air that you then knit on, I don't remember, 4mm needles, let's say. And you're supposed to get that gauge in colour work? Absolutely no way, Jose. And that is what happened to me. And I made this beautiful fox jumper that was supposed to be for my mum, but of course size 1 does not fit my mother, so it now fits me. And it is beautiful, and at that gauge it is beautiful. It's just the completely wrong gauge. And I don't know what was going on. I think I was just fed up when it was happening, because I then had to cast on a new one with different yarn and make it on time for my mum, that I just quickly finished this up, figured I'd just wear it and it would all be fine. There were major problems. I'm assuming it was also the gauge that went on with this, but it can't be the pattern because I followed the same pattern and the same size for my mum's, and that all came out fine. So it must just be the combination of me using a single strand of Plötulopi and getting the wrong gauge that made this really weird tube neck thing. So I ended up having to fold it down, and then it was still too weird and wide. I added elastic. It was very traumatic, which is why there's some horrendously ugly neon pink elastic in there, but usually no one sees them. So now it actually sits at my neck and it looks fine, but instead of, I don't know, instead of using my brain and thinking I should make the body size 1 as well, I just knitted the body at size 4 and I ended on an I-cord. For some unknown reason, I've never done an I-cord bind off on a clothed item, and I don't like it. And there's so much fabric, it's so boxy because obviously it's size 4, and my gauge when it's not colourwork is a lot looser. I really don't like how wide and boxy it is, but I could be okay with it if I wore it with something like a dress and a linen dress. But then I decided, well, it's all gone wrong, I'm not going to waste my time on sleeves, so I just made short sleeves and figured I would wear it over a dress in the autumn. At what point does anybody wear Plötulopi jumper when they're not really that cold? You don't wear Icelandic wool with no sleeves. There's never a time I can wear this. If it's cold, I would wear a cardigan or a jumper with sleeves. If it was mildly warm, cold enough, I would throw on the cactus one I have, or my vintage knit one that has short sleeves. But never Plötulopi, because it's so warm. And then you get really warm, but then you're not actually in the right temperature. Like it does. So this has not been worn. I think I've tried to wear it twice, and there's never. And I also have nothing that goes with this colour. It's like a swampy, dirty green, which on the jumper, it's beautiful and I love it. And I look at it and think, oh, I can't believe I made it. It's so lovely. And then I go to put it on, and as you can see, this is the kind of colour I have, or I have literally any other colour. I don't have murky green. I don't have an orange dress. I don't have a charcoal dress. Like, it doesn't match a single item. But if I made the sleeves longer, then it would be practical. I could actually wear it when I'm cold in the autumn and the winter, and it might go okay with jeans. And I just made a beige skirt, a circle skirt, so I think it would go okay with that. So basically, I have to try and figure out how to pick up the stitches and continue knitting down. I definitely have enough yarn. Lots and lots of Plötulopi in this weird colour. It's not weird, it's a nice colour. It's just, it doesn't fit in my wardrobe. But there's definitely enough yarn. I will try and pick up the stitches and undo the I-cord and just keep knitting. I'm thinking I might follow the instructions for the Valkyria Cardigan sleeves and make them kind of balloony, because it might look a bit strange if I had tighter sleeves and such a big body. Did consider ripping out the body, going back to where I went from yoke to sleeve separation and body separation. I did consider ripping it out to make it smaller, but I don't know. I really don't know if the singular Plötulopi that has been washed a couple of times would actually undo. So I'll do the sleeves first, see how it looks. If I don't like it, then I'll see how much yarn I have. I might cut it off if it doesn't unravel naturally. Otherwise, yeah, we'll see. I think it would be better, more practical to actually be smaller and to have a rib at the bottom. Basically, I just need to rip the whole thing out except the yoke and start again, but it's singular Plötulopi, which makes it a lot more complicated. But at least there's no mohair. So this is going to be my work in progress over the next few weeks, I suppose, when I get my needles back from my other projects. But I really want to wear this. It took so much effort. I do want to make another one, and I do have yarn to make another one in the correct size with the correct neck and everything. but I want to fix this one first, because there's no point in having just doubles of things and then not wearing things. I am on a mission to rip some things out or to fix them. So that is what I want to do. Ah yes, I wanted to talk stash busting. I knew there was a reason that I recorded today. Stash busting, September. We are in October now, but we can't count October. How am I doing on my stash busting? Not great. What I have discovered is I watch quite a few podcasters who get in a lot of yarn, and then they knit a lot, and they'll say like, oh, and this month I knitted 1,300 kilos of yarn. Oh, this month I knitted 900. And I think, oh, that's not so bad if you get a couple of hundred in, and then you knit it and it's all made and everything goes in and then goes out. I thought I would be like that. Going through my pages where I've recorded wool in, wool out, I really don't knit very much. And I really don't knit projects that use a lot of yarn. But I love yarn. So these two hobbies of buying yarn and knitting, they're not going well together. I've calculated everything again since. I don't know if I've gone off a bit. My numbers are a little bit confusing, but to be honest, it really doesn't matter. Like a gram here, 100 grams there, whatever. But according to what I have here on my sticky note, I started the year with 25 kilos, 928 grams of wool. Yes, nearly 26 kilos of wool. Then I've got January in, January out, February in, and I've gone through them all. The max I had out in 1 month was 971, and that's because I gave my mum basically all of that in wool I wasn't using. Some for her to use or for her to donate somewhere. So it's not even like I knitted it. Other than that, I think the max I had out was 740 grams because I finished a jumper. That was in January. And I fixed something else. Like, I really don't get a lot of yarn out in 1 month. And I had 4 months where I didn't buy any yarn. And I still don't go down. By August, I had 23 kilos, 774 grams left. But then I went to Sweden, and if you watched my Swedish video, I bought yarn. And I don't feel guilty or anything. Like, I went there with the purpose of buying yarn, and I bought beautiful yarn, and I will absolutely use it. It's just yarn comes in a lot faster. I bought 1,750 grams, so a kilo, 750 grams, and it brought the yarn back on. So although I did finish my Yggdrasil jumper, which was 346 grams, I finished my beret, which was 63 grams. My grand total now in September, well, we're in October, but for September is 25 kilos and 7 grams. So in like 9 months of stash busting, I have gone down by 921 grams. Not even a kilo. And I need to buy more yarn to finish my mittens. So it's going to go back up. But let's think of the good news. My Valkyria is on my Make 9, and the Tyto mittens were on my Make 9 from last year. Like, I am knitting the projects I wanted to knit, and I am doing the things I wanted to do. And of course, no one's actually behind me going, you can't buy yarn. It's just, it would be really nice to be able to use the yarn I have, and because it's such beautiful yarn, and I'm so grateful that I have it and that I have the opportunity to knit with it, and yet I'm not, because it's not going down. So I'm not really sure where I left off on my last stash busting. I should probably have checked before recording, but hey ho. I had in July, I'm assuming I last did a stash busting update around then. July I finished my husband's jumper, that was 501 grams, and I finished off my chevron jumper, that was 169 grams, and I finished a pair of slippers for me. So in total, in July, I had 770 grams out of my stash, which is the best since January. So January 740, February 554, March 971, that was because I gave it to my mum, April 243, May 190, June 126 grams, yeah, July 770 grams, August 108 grams out. That was my husband's slippers. So unless I finish 2 garments, my average is about 100 grams, 150 grams that go out of my stash a month. That's not very much. I know I knit, so I'm very curious how I only managed to get like, yeah, 190 grams, 126 grams, 108 grams out in 1 month of knitting. Yeah, I'm still in shock. And yeah, this month I had 409 grams out because I finished my jumper. If I actually have enough yarn and I do finish my Valkyria this month, that's at least 300 grams out. But it just doesn't go down as easily as it comes in. So yes, I'm down by like 900 grams. But maybe by the end of the year, if I finish off like fixing, even that though, that's super light, that's 200 grams. I don't even know if I would finish that for the sleeves of my fox jumper. I have to knit with very bulky yarn or be a very fast knitter to get that number down, but at least it does keep me accountable. I'm really enjoying this, keeping track of how much goes in, how much goes out, how much things weigh, how much I'm actually knitting. I like that, and I will continue this next year because it keeps you grounded and keeps you aware of how much you're knitting and how much you're really going to use. Which is probably another reason I'm struggling to buy more yarn for my mittens, because I know, even though I have all these plans, I'm not really going to touch that yarn anytime soon. My other thing is that I'm really tempted to go back into some of the projects I've already made and adjust them or change them or rip them out and redo them, which would be a lot of work, and ultimately it wouldn't bring my stash down, it would probably bring it up because I would shrink things. But I think I will leave that for next year because I have stuff I want to make for Christmas, like Christmassy season, and I want to make more practical things like cardigans. I have things I actually do want to do before I start delving into old projects, but oh, it's very tempting. I mean, I say that and I've already got this fox jumper ready to go. So that doesn't count. Let's not count that one. That one's part of my this year's plan. I feel very rambly, so I think I will end this here because otherwise I might just sit here and talk non-stop and not really say anything. So I wanted also to say thank you to everyone who gave me some tips on how to fix my sewing project that I talked about last time. I'm absolutely going to try that, and I'm going to try making some more vintage sewing projects this year because I have a few on my making wish list. But I want to fix, I have a huge pile of stuff that needs to be fixed, altered, changed, repurposed, and it's overwhelming me. Like, to say the least, it's overwhelming me. I want to try and make a project, maybe film it, maybe if I film it, it'll keep me accountable or make it more interesting, of stuff I want to fix and adjust so I can wear it again. And I like watching videos like that because it inspires me to then do that. So maybe I should watch some more of those videos. Inspire myself, then film them, and keep myself accountable, because the amount of fabric that is sitting there unused because I'm too overwhelmed to even start. But I have other clothing projects I want to make, but I can't make more until I have sorted out the heap that is fix it, mend it, adjust it, repurpose, reuse, blah blah blah. Anything else? No, let's stop talking. Thank you very, very much for watching. And if you want to watch my Gotland trip and Öland, that's my last video that I posted. And otherwise, I will see you all next time. Thank you. Bye.